Hi, my name is Ebenezer Safwedu. I'm a business strategy consultant and a data specialist. Um, I have today with me Chris Wagner. He is the chief data god of business intelligence in the world. He has so much experience in business intelligence, and I'm privileged today to have him on the Power BI Guru series. He's more than a Power BI guru. He is actually a business intelligence guru and a data chief god. So welcome, Chris.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. This is the number one thing that I love talking about all day long, 24/7, data, data, data. So excited to be here and talk with you about some interesting concepts that I've been toying with and playing with lately in my free time. So,
Wow. I mean, what else would a data god would be talking about and thinking
ain't
about?
that the truth?
Yeah, you definitely breathe and worship data. So we are here to actually be at your service. So, Chris,
Yeah.
um, for the sake of my viewers, kindly tell us a little bit about you. I know that you started computing way back at age 5. So, take us through your background and how you got into data and become a chief data guy.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I was 5 years old, and I went to visit my friend's mom at work. I got brought along, and I got sat down at my first computer. Happened to be a Cray supercomputer, so because she worked at Cray, and I visited Cray, so I've always been very fortunate to be exposed to these. Incredible concepts around technology and leadership, and I've kind of been working in this space for a long time. One of my first professional jobs was in technical consulting and solution design in SMB, and I got to spend a lot of time in that space. And I really developed a passion for data and data modeling. And I discovered that there was this big break between the business and technology, and I saw that they were having real problems communicating back and forth, and they just didn't. They seemed to like they were speaking two different languages, and that's when I read an article that IBM was investing all of this money in this thing called business intelligence, and
Which year was
that
this?
was like early aughts, like 2001, 2002, or something like that, and
Wow.
yeah, yeah, like the article had to explain what business intelligence was because that wasn't a thing at the time, and I fell in love with it. I got a job working on a business intelligence Oracle business intelligence data warehouse platform that I worked my way to owning the platform. Um, I had 20,000 files that landed every day, 5 to 10,000 reports that went out every single day, and I had it all automated and architected. And I had to do an upgrade, and the upgrade I priced it out because Oracle, you buy like the hardware, then you buy the base software, then you had to buy all the like additions and whatnot, and the whole thing was like 4.8 million. They said no, you can have 2.4 million. It's okay, and so I implemented it. And about a month after I implemented it, I got an invite to like see this new thing called Microsoft Business Intelligence, or MSBI. And I thought, hey, free drinks, why not? And as I sat there watching them lay out, I'm like, oh, it's okay. It does all the base things. That's nice. And oh, it does each of the modules. And oh, that's great. And oh, it's all included. So as I'm sitting there watching this guy talk about MSBI, I go out like on Dell's website, and I'm like pricing out the server to be identical to the Oracle server I had, and that $4.8 million install that I had from Oracle, I priced out with an MSBI stack as $180,000, and
What?
I yeah, 180,000 to 4.8 million.
How did you
That was
feel at the time?
mic drop. What's that?
How did you feel at the time after
Oh,
spending 4 million?
yeah, I realized I was on a sinking ship. I'm like, you know, and like a rat when he realizes the sink or the ship is sinking. Yeah, uh, I realized I gotta get out of this. So the next day, I rewrote my resume. I took Oracle, all references to Oracle out of it. I just said, database design, automation, and I figured, if it can be done, right? I saw that it could be done. I'll either figure it out or I'll Google it or I'll find a way. And that's what technology people do. And I found a way. And I've been working in the MSBI stack ever since.
Wow. What a way to MSBI. I
Yeah,
can imagine.
yeah,
Oh, you should have been charged for the additional cost by your old company.
right, right.
All right. Chris is an architect engineer at Rockwell Automation, and I'm yet to hear of anyone that supervises that numbers of people in content development. Over, Chris was telling me over 30,000 now after upgrading to E5.
Yep.
So he's responsible for providing the data architect solution for over 30,000 content developers in Rockwell Automation. That's real much of a task as an architect engineer. And how is your daily work schedule like? Supervising over 30,000 content developers. I'm sure
Well,
across the globe.
yeah, and that's the crazy part, right? Like my phone lights up 24/7, 365 with people with questions, needs, and answers. And when I think about Microsoft solutions, and especially as they roll out new things that are inside the platform, I always go back to this common chart that I have, and I have it written down so I can use it anywhere and everywhere. And uh, solutions are either going to suck, they're going to be okay, or they're going to be enterprise grade. And so when someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I need to do this," I always want to know what is it, not just what are they trying to do, but who are they trying to do this for, right? So if this is something that is for the CEO or it's for executives who are going to be making big decisions that go on inside the company, I I have to eliminate from my vocabulary, my solution design, really any of the things that fall into that suck category or even that okay space. Like that stuff has to come out because these are going to be these solutions are going to be driving our company, right? But then again, if I'm talking with someone who's trying to do something that's on a much smaller scale, well, then we could start to play a bit, right? We could start to try those new functionalities. And when I'm thinking about a user and when someone comes to me, I'm always thinking about the pyramid of Power BI adoption, the governance pyramid that talks
Okay.
about the individual, you know, the team, the department, and then the enterprise up at the top. And I don't know if you've seen it before. The first time I saw it was Matthew Roach had
Yeah.
a deck with it, and I use it all the time. So if someone is an individual and they want to try something and it's for themselves, great. Try that new thing. I don't know if it sucks or not, but give it a shot. No harm, no foul, right? Um, but if it is for that upper crust, right? If it is for these, this higher level, we really have to make sure that we line that up appropriately and make sure that we're using true enterprise grade solutions for
Wow.
those needs.
What what a guiding principle for all business governance guys. I mean, what Chris is trying to say is that if you actually in the space of Power BI, one key thing you need to always know is what is the person trying to do as much as who is going to use what is going to be done. And that should inform you whether you would go through the SAC, okay, or great. And
Yeah.
that should help you. If it's for the executive suite, you should know that it has to be great. There is no need for planning and playing. You need to go with something that you are used to, something that you are okay with, something that you've tried and tested over time. However, it's at the individual level in the company, then you could then play and even try with a SAP and try to just play around with something that you want to do. And as a data, an architect engineer in such a big organization with such experience, if he's telling you this, then it's something we all need to learn and apply, right?
And the other thing, when you think about that pyramid and you think about approaching the solution like that, the other side is you have to develop is a degree of comfort with chaos, right? There's
Yeah,
you're going to have your order, and that order is going to be out there, and you're going to provide that for your executives.
yeah.
But you want to foster and enable people to go out, explore, find different things, and be comfortable with that degree of chaos, and do your best to create that funnel and the pipeline so that those insights and those ideas and concepts that are gained in that chaos start to shake out and become more ordered as they progress along that pipeline, until they reach that end state that is truly ordered and truly available for the executives for
Wow.
consumption.
So basically, what you're trying to say is that the learning and the chaos can start at the base of the
Hmm.
pyramid, at the individual level. As it progresses through the teams, through the organization to the enterprise level, it becomes streamlined and it becomes more of an order that the executives can then take decisions on by that time, which is tried and tested, so that
Right,
you would have the executive not playing with new stuff which could
right,
cost the entire organization. Wow, that is
right.
something that we can all learn from. I'm amazed, I mean, with what Chris has done. Chris is truly the data god
One of them.
and
There's many.
the chief data god, and he's been actually creating new gods every week. So
Trying.
you have to follow Chris to know what I'm talking about. But Chris, with your much experience in business intelligence, we talked about hearing of business intelligence way back in 2001. Um, Knowing the fact that most people, I interviewed Matt Allington and he was talking about the same challenge with IT and business and trying to find a gap between business and the IT world. And I think business intelligence provides that solution. What would you say much more about business intelligence and for companies that are yet to actually catch on with this new or old trend which is happening in the business world? What is your advice for business executives that are yet to roll on into business intelligence, and what should they look out for
Oh,
before we even
that's a great question. Um, and the big thing that you really want to do is you want to uh, try small, grow where you have successes, iterate through your solutions. But try to get in there and do what you think you can or should be doing. But be open to failing fast, right? Trying to get in there, get it done, and if it fails, go through and review and redo what you're doing. And one of the big things that I think is most powerful about the Microsoft Business Intelligence stack is that it is fundamentally built into tools that you most likely already own and already have it use on a day in and day out basis, right? Because all of these tools that we talk about in MSBI were born in Excel. They
yeah,
all exist inside of Excel. So you can 100% start in Excel and take those steps forward using tools, functionalities, and environments that you know and love. And then you can expand out and take those next steps. The thing I would caution you to avoid is like the concept from Who Moved My Cheese, right? So there's a way you do things in Excel, and much of that translates into Power BI, but not everything. So
yeah,
as you start to translate things in, be very open to what's the best way to do this in Power BI versus this is how I do in Excel. Show me how I do that inside of Power BI, right? And that's a different kind of mindset because it sounds the same, but it's not the same. And so just be very open to that, right? You know, you may play soccer, and I play football. Um, uh, but your soccer I'm going to get, or your football is going to be very different than my football,
Yeah.
right? Same name, but it's going to be different, right?
Uh,
Just be aware that there's going to be some changes that come along with that. Okay.
wow. So, um, the follow-up question is, what are the capabilities that Microsoft BI gives an organization, and why should any organization want to roll out very hard on business intelligence in today? Because you are coming from an automation background, and what capabilities does Microsoft Power BI give to an organization when it is adopted?
Holy cow! Yeah. So, the biggest thing that Microsoft Power BI and these tools bring is independence and autonomy for individuals to work and operate inside your business. Okay. So Microsoft's framework that they look at is individual, department, enterprise, right? So very akin to what I was just talking about. Um, but you want to find ways where you can leverage the knowledge of the people who are working inside your business to find data driven insights that can help you change the course of your organization. I work for one company that we rolled out an MSBI solution for that allowed people to go in and explore the financial results of the various products inside their organization. This company was a bank, and one of their departments was federally regulated. Like they had to have this type of department, right? It was called the SMB department, small business loans, right? Um, in the U.S. All banks have to have them. They have to provide loans to the certain
Okay.
people and the certain class of business. And this was for like 20 years. This department had been a revenue loser for the organization. They had to
Wow.
have it. They lost money on it. Fine, whatever, right? They had to have it to operate, so they kept it going. And um, uh, I built these what I call seed, a seed, which was a connection to an analytical model on the back end that allowed people to go in and drag and drop things into a pivot table and start to explore their data. Well, there was a young, up and coming, junior manager at one of their branches who started to on a Saturday started to tinker around inside the seeds, looking at what's going on inside that business, and he uncovered that all the losses were for businesses that fell under a certain credit score, and
Wow.
for all of them, right? And everyone above that was fine. And so they realized if they implemented a risk-based pricing model where if your credit score was below a certain point, they just added on a little more interest, uh, that they would go from unprofitable to profitable,
That's awesome.
like like that, like overnight. And he he found it on a Saturday. He pitched it on a Monday. We reviewed it over the course of like with leadership, management, legal, all that stuff over the course of a month. And starting the next month, they changed their policies. And just like that, that division that hadn't made money in like 20 years started became profitable and was profitable from there on out because they had the right information to make the right decisions. And
Wow.
it it was funny. No one would ever rarely would people come to my meetings. I'd have these meetings and I to show people stuff, and business people, like one or two would come in, and supposed to be like 30 or 40, but it was one or two, and they were nice and whatnot. uh the next day after they presented this at their annual meeting about how this guy had done this, I came into 76 phone messages on my answering machine. People trying to get a hold of me to have a meeting with me to see how they can, start to look for the same types of insights inside their organization. So, um, I know there's more information out there than I can ever possibly understand, comprehend, know, analyze. Uh, and that's why I've kind of really since then truly dedicated myself to getting data in the hands of people
People.
who work and operate so they can help find those insights, right? Because I think it's going to be your frontline workers, it's going to be your people in your organization who just gonna they're going to catch a whiff of something, and they're going to, if they have a way to go and look into it, they're going to find incredible things. If they
Wow.
don't, then they're going to miss out, and you're going to miss out. So you got to roll this stuff out.
Wow. I think Chris has enumerated why every company would have to create this capacity. It's like an organizational capacity, which becomes something that the organization owns. It could even be a competitive advantage in that you are given so much power to the end user, in this case from the front end through to your C-suite, to make sure that every decision that is made is based on some insights or some data that can help improve the bottom line of the organization. And Power BI provides this beautiful capability to each organization, because at the end of the day, the decision would have to be made. The question is, how will the decision be made? And if you provide such capability throughout the organization, whereby irrespective of whether an individual works, there's this capability provided for them to make sure that at the end of the day, the right decisions are made. So not only are decisions made right, but at the end of the day, it all goes down to help the bottom line of the company. Like in your case, where you talked about a department that was unprofitable for 20 years, by just doing the proper insights and pattern detection, was able to know what is causing the failure of the organization or the department. And this would affect policies and then affect decisions. And at the end of the day, you get better results. So I think Chris is trying to say that if you're an executive and you're not actually looking at building capability in insights and data driven decisions, then you're missing real out in today's world. Maybe you might be that loss making department, who knows? So start small from where you are, like he said, with Excel or whatever you have. Make sure that the people are equipped enough to make the right decisions. And at the end, you yourself would gain big in terms of what you need to do as an organization. Big ups, Chris, with that one.
Yeah, you're spot on, and the great thing about Power BI and the solution is it's not just for the analysts or the wonks or the executives, because you can make it look so nice, and you can integrate so many different actions into it that you can really drive this out broadly inside your organization. Another illustration I'll give you or example is. Uh, we wanted our customer service reps, the people who take calls from all of our customers who are calling in for orders or to check tracking or to have an issue or whatever it is, right? We wanted them to see when a customer calls in, to get a quick snapshot as to the health of that customer, right? So they would know if they needed to take extra actions or if there's something going on inside that customer's account that they might want to engage senior leadership with or escalate an issue on. And so one of the things we did was we integrated narrative sciences, natural language generation
Okay.
into a Power BI dashboard, so that when a call comes in, the call pops up on the customer services center's screen, right, along with this Power BI dashboard with this little narration in it that describes insights into what's going on inside that account. And it does it in natural language so that, we're not talking, they didn't have to read any bar charts or look up any graphs. It literally says, you know, customer so and so's uh, uh, customer service tickets are aging 90% greater than other customers, consider escalating. Or this customer hasn't received an issue in X number of times, or whatever it is, whatever the insights just magically come out and tell that customer service. They're able to see that and it helps them inform them as to additional steps they should take with their customers. We've actually, since we implemented this, we've seen a marked uptick in our customer retention and our
Satisfaction.
customer satisfaction. And we actually won the Future Edge 50 award for it, for implementing it for all of our customer service reps. Because, data can help everyone in your organization if you can get it into their hands in a way that they can consume it.
Wow. This is a brilliant example of how smart narratives and natural language can be integrated to help the bottom line. Especially with this case, you identify that the front end people may not be graph savvy. So a natural language in this case would be the best approach to go about it. They are not senior executives to be looking at some graphs of past year and previous year. They could just see it as it is in natural language, English, or whatever language they may be comfortable with, and know what decision to make. That's
Right.
brilliant use of Power BI and giving capability to the front end and empowering people to be able to make the right decisions. That's brilliant stuff there.
Yeah, and honestly, remembering that when you build out your Power BI dashboards and experiences is important for you to put yourself in the shoes of the person who's using it, right? So you're going to have people that all they care about are the KPIs. What's the number? Show me the number, right? That's it. They just want to know what sales is today or how many calls do we make. And that's awesome. Those are my KPI guys. And then you're going to have people that are want to know the trends, like how are we doing, how is this progressing, right? Like they want to see something visual in place, right? And those people really enjoy things like your KPI charts and your bar charts or line charts. Some of these people might even get into like scatter plots so they can visually find outliers and groups. And there's going to be a percentage of your audience that are like that. There's also going to be a percentage of your audience that, they're the accountants, the bookkeepers. Show me the details, right? Like I want to see that account number. I want to see the customer name. I want to see their, whatever, blah, 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 right? They lay it all out, and that's, they're methodical and they're organized, and that's how they work through it. But you'll have other people in your audience that really need that, USA Today summary of what's going on inside of all of it, right? Like all of it's too much, and no thank you. Just tell me what's going on. Give me some insights. I'm not, they're not dummies, right? They're not. They're not dumb. They just
Yeah.
don't want, they don't want to deal with any of that crap,
And
right?
they may not
They
have the time.
Right. Exactly. They don't have the time, right? You talk about a lead salesperson or a CEO or whoever, right? They're super busy. They're highly productive. KPIs don't do it for them because they can read a number any place. They want to see that something written out that gives them some insights and information that they didn't know before, and that's where these smart narratives come into place. And frankly, I like to include them in almost every solution I develop so that people can consume the information in the way that's most appropriate for them.
I mean, what you're saying is typically, I always say that you always use what people are used to. For instance, executives are used to executive summary.
Yeah.
So it's intuitive for you to include the executive summary of whatever you've designed for him to know in the summary of everything that you've said, what should be done or what should be seen quickly, because he may not have the time to delve into all your charts and all that you have in there. So
Right.
like you're saying one very brilliant point with your experience that know who is consuming the insight and know their leanings, whether it's about a snapshot of what is happening, whether they are the finance guys who want the details, or is the CEO who just wants a summary and know what exactly to do, or is a front end person who needs to get to know not everything about all customers, but they need to know that particular instant, what do I do, so that you give information when it is needed, and do not you kind of bar all the noise to each user, that if you I don't need it, don't show it to me, in a kind
Right.
of, yeah. So I think it's a good point that Chris has made. Chris, that's why he's the chief data god anyway. He's seen it all. He's seen all the solutions in there. And with the number of years of experience and the number of people he helps, gives him that authority to say this. So, Chris, time's up. I crown you today again as a data.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you.
So with these experiences, I'm sure now everybody is convinced that you definitely need this capability in your workplace. Chris, what do you think about the Center of Excellence? Let's debate about creating Center of Excellence in every organization to ensure that there is a Center of Excellence of developers who develop for the entire organization with regards to Power BI rollout.
Oh, I think having a center of excellence is a must in any company, especially when you talk about these tools that are now in the hands of almost every, or could be, or often are easily in the hands of everyone inside of your company, right? And the only way to scale and provide that degree of support broadly across an organization is to basically have that community, to foster it, to build that out so that you can have people move in and out of the limelight, in and out of helping each other, but that environment starts to help and grow and shape the work that's being done, right? And so I look at a number of different things when it comes to a community. One is I look at how do you foster and start to build out touch points, and I look at it as a daily feed. How can you have that slow drip of daily information that goes out there? My personal favorite is a Teams channel, and as you encounter things or issues, or as you solve items, and you watch a great guy in the cube video, or you read a good blog by the SQL BI guys, or you see an incredible dashboard by Discover EI. You As you find those, you pin those into your team's channel. Look at this really great, whatever. Guys, check this out. And as you start to slow trickle it, you'll start to build out and foster that community. And then as people come in, start asking questions, go out and answer them, or help and encourage the others in your organization to answer them. And then the next step that comes along with that daily slow trickle is the weekly power hours. And so we started this at Rockwell. We have basically their Power Platform hours confined to 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturdays, or I'm sorry, on Fridays. So that's, as we when we started this out, we realized this stuff has to be during our like normal business hours. We don't have funding for anything beyond that, right? So 8 to 10 means that even in a global organization, while late, everyone could still attend it. And get questions answered, and we could start to build out that community in that forum. And what that allowed people to do is come in, ask questions, get it solved right in real time with people. And it allowed us to foster that community that really took advantage of the diversity of the people that are working inside of our organization and the solutions that they needed to come up with in order to help the other people in the company who had the same needs, right? So
Yeah.
um, we really focused in on not just like, hey, come in and ask Chris, stump the chump type stuff, but come in and talk to the community about how do you solve an issue, right? And what that allowed people to do is, if you think about how you learn stuff, and this is how doctors have learned learn and communicated knowledge for like 3,000 years. Like the first surgeries, which was a tonsillectomy, was removing tonsils with two sticks and a rock. This is how they taught it, right? So like this is old, right? It's in our bones, right? So you see someone do something, you see them work with an issue, you see them solve it, right? You take that knowledge and then you go out and you do that yourself, right? You get practice doing it, you go and implement a solution. And then to really cement that in, the last piece that you have to do is you have to teach that to someone else. And that's what Power Hours allows us to do, is foster an environment where everyone gets to experience each of these pieces of it, right? So when people come in with questions, I work hard to not jump to answer and to allow other people in the community who haven't been necessarily, who are in those different phases, to come in and answer those questions, right? Like, oh, here's how you get a Power BI license, or here's how you connect to the data lake, or here's how you implement dynamic row level security on a multi-fact table model with bidirectional joints, right? Like whatever the question is, we solve it inside that meeting.
Wow, that's great. I mean, that means you have built more of like a Power BI community inside Rockwell Automation,
Yeah.
where you have both beginners, intermediates, and advanced users like yourself, offering helps at different angles and different perspectives, which helps business users relate. Because sometimes another colleague helping you helps you relate better than maybe the data guy helping you to solve that problem. So I
Right.
think,
And my calendar's crazy. I don't know what your calendar's like, but I am double, triple booked, 5 days a week, from an hour before I start to an hour after. My calendar's nuts. Nobody gets on my calendar. But because we have a community, we now know, Steve is an excellent resource, and Steve can get together with Paul and he can help him out. And Mary knows so much about Power Apps, and when Len needs help, Len goes to Mary, right? And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
I can imagine. I mean, with 30,000 content developers, you couldn't have done it all by yourself. You
No.
needed help in one way or the other. Like I said, Chris is like the chief data god of Power BI and data everywhere in the world. So he
Oh,
actually has so much experience with trying to govern how Power BI should be rolled out in enterprise, an individual level, um, teams level, etc. So I had to actually get him on this so as we could learn the best that we could from him with his experience with supervising over 30,000 content developers around the world. So, Chris, with all that said, I'm sure everybody now is convinced that they would need Power BI and the whole Power Platform in the organization. Now, can we jump into some demonstration so as you could take us through the development cycle of
sure.
Power BI? So now we're going to go through from the data, getting the data stage right through to how to model, and then the almighty design and build strategies.
Yep.
So over to you,
So
Chris.
if you haven't already, head out to KratosBi.com. Bookmark this. This is the home of the data gods. Do check this out. There are lots of data gods that are out here. I'm always adding new data gods out here. I do have free resources to people for getting started in Power BI. So there's lots of content that's out there. Check that out. And you may not know, but I am the first analytics rebel out there. So go out there and take the Analytics Rebel code. And I say subscribe to my newsletter, but honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to do a newsletter. But for disclaimer, full disclaimer, maybe we'll see. But that's actually, I won that just the other week at the Data Storytelling Awards. So do sign up for that. But when we talk about building out work, as I said before, start with tools and functionality that you know, right? So here, this is Excel, right? This is just Excel, nothing more, nothing less, right? Build out your reports, start working here. All of the tools and functionality and capability that you want in, that you're going to have, or that you have inside the Power BI landscape exists here. You can go in, you can build out your models, you can uh, go in and you can work inside of your data. Here, I'll even pop open manage my data model. I'll show you. You can build out a full on model on top of your data. So I've got all of my content available inside of here. I can really start to work inside building out my first star schema. Uh, if you're not in a star schema yet, start with, just a flat file, right? Start with that one big table, right? A lot of people really like that, and start there. That can actually take you a long way. And, at some point in time, you're going to reach some performance thresholds where you're going to need to move away from that. But when that day comes, start to slowly dimensionalize your data. But you can do that all as it exists inside of Excel using these tools that are the same as in Power BI. How much are they the same, you say? Well, let me show you. So what I can do with this is I can actually fire up a new Power BI report,
Wow.
and I can, now this is my KratosBi data report. Where is this located? Excel files. Okay. So when PowerPoint or Power BI comes up, what I can do is I can go to File, and I can go to Import, and I can import it from Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. And it's just going to ask me to identify that file. Now, note, the file has to be closed for you to do this, so that's why I had to close that out. But this is the one I like. That was the report that we had built out and we knew was all good. I can select this report. I can click open. It's going to give me a little warning. I click on, go ahead, start. Now, everything I built out inside of my Excel file, when it comes to my data model, is going to get automatically imported into my new Power BI report. So
Wow.
now I can take this. Oopsies. Come on now. Windows, right? And I can compare this to my Excel spreadsheet. Oh, I closed it. That's right. And I can actually go through and I can build out like for like here. So if I look at my Excel spreadsheet, I can see that I've got fiscal year order quantity. So I can just go over here and do order quantity. Oh, there's my measure. And I can see I have fiscal year. And here's my fiscal year. So I'm going to drop that on my axis. I've created that guy. Now I can look at my next item. Oh, this is sales amount by fiscal year. Well, I've already done the fiscal year, so I'm going to cheat and do that. Type in sales amount. And now I'm just going to swap out my sales amount instead of my order quantity. And so now I've completed that piece of my development. Now, I can continue to work through this, recreating my entire report that I had built and loved inside of Excel. I can now easily build that out inside of Power BI. Now, this report that was trapped inside of Excel, I can make this available on app.powerbi.com. I can share that on mobile devices. I can make this so that I can view and access this information anywhere in the world on any device that I have. And as you can see, the development time was started inside of Excel, migrated into Power BI, and then able to share out with low to no effort there.
Wow.
All right.
That's
Now we have an enterprise scalable solution that started in a user desktop tool.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. So I think Chris always say that start with what you're comfortable with. So if you're already doing your Excel sheets, you're doing your Power Pivots in Excel, Migrating it into Power BI is quite easy. The advantage of Power BI is that you now have an enterprise version where anybody anywhere can view these files without any data quality issues and data integrity issues, in that everybody anywhere around the world could view these same files at the same time, and they can slice and dice whatever they want to, and it can be consumed wherever they may want it, be it on the phone, be it on the tablet, be it on the wherever they want to consume this report. So not only are they now on just your Excel sheets, which is the limitation, but now you could publish it from the Power BI desktop onto a server, the Power BI service, and now can be utilized all over wherever the company may want this utilized. And different people can slice and dice whatever they want to see by bringing in some governance measures like row level security and other things that you want people to see what you want them to see. So, I mean, this is brilliant with if you're already using Excel for a lot of stuff in your organization and you're thinking that the migration to Power BI would be a challenge. Chris has shown us that this could be done in minutes. I mean, between just we talking, he's building his entire Excel worksheet into Power BI and now can be accessible to any part of the world if this is an enterprise version. Wow.
There you go.
We should be clapping for Chris.
Well, and it's also easy to apply themes, right? So, I wanted to make sure that's my standard theme. So I go in and I've already made sure that I have my KratosBi theme available. So I just go grab my KratosBi theme, and now it's already got all my standard enterprise colors and everything set up inside there, and I'm ready to go for my layout and standards. This has all been set and defined, and yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Wow. That's what you always do.
Yeah, that's what I do. I rock.
I mean, that's pretty much amazing and easy. I was hoping you would add some smart narratives in that.
Oh, I got smart narratives. You want smart narratives? Here we go. Actually, so two smart narratives. One, I really like uh, narrative sciences, and uh, actually, I'm going to change this up. I'm going to make my page size a custom. Now I can spread that out a little more. Share this a little differently. Now I can, this is a
Um,
narrative sciences custom visual for a smart narrative. You can see how many insights that it can provide over this, inside of here.
wow.
You can also leverage Power BI has a smart narrative that you can click on. This is,
What's the what's the name of the custom visual you use? You said what? Narrative science?
yep. So this is narrative science custom visual. So I have my environment configured out so that I have my selected custom visuals automatically available inside of all my Power BI desktops. So let me quick show you how you can do that. If you've never done that before, you can configure your Power BI environment as an administrator. You can go into Power BI. Come on now. And under the admin settings, admin portal, under organizational visuals, you can add in the visuals either from the store or from like purchased, and then you can decide which ones are enabled to automatically show up in the visual pane and which ones are available through your own custom store, right? So I have Power KPI and Cord that I go get all the time, so it's easy for me to get. But I use narrative sciences all the time, and I use the chiclet slicer and bubble chart all the time. So I include those right inside my Power BI build experience. So I never have to go out and download and add these into my Power BI files. But by doing this as an admin in your service, it's always available for you,
All right.
right?
I think I've learned two main things today concerning the page size. I've always wondered how I was going to expand and increase the size because I always had challenges with the default page size. But I just saw that I could have always increased the height. I don't know why I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, you can increase the height. A big thing if you're increasing the height is to under view, under page view, change it from fit to page to fit to width. What this will do in fit to width is uh, if if your scale here we go. If your scale doesn't line up right, so if a user's on, let's say, a laptop, and it's a small screen, they now get the scroll function, right? So that they can
Okay.
scroll up and down and see the whole thing. Now you have to be careful. If you have this, that means you can't, you can really hurt a user if there's any scroll bars inside of here. So when you build and design, you have to make sure that you don't include that scrolling inside there. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, fit to width will then shrink it accordingly so you can see whatever it is available.
All right.
All right.
That's good.
But now we've taken something that we built out in Excel, migrated into Power BI, added in custom visuals, added in a theme, added in an AI, the built uh this is the built-in narrative visual that's available for people, right? So this is right in the service, no cost. Narrative Sciences, this is a subscription-based model, so you have to subscribe to this in order to get it. But other than that, you're pretty much ready to go with this once you get this out and in place. All right, and now I have a whole dashboard out and available for us.
Wow. I mean, that's one of the key advantages of Power BI, the ease in building dashboards and reports. You could literally do this in just few seconds of taps, just drag and drop. You've not even introduced any advanced analytics in here with probably no DAX measures written, just what has already been done in the Excel sheet. Just bring
Yep.
it into Power BI and you're good to start. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So
a good way to migrate from Excel into Power BI without any much difficulties as an organization. All right. And so the next question I'm going to ask is the big thing on star schema and one big table. If you could
sure.
quickly run us through that. And
Yeah. No, and if you work in Power BI, the engine that you're working on is called the tabular engine. Or it has a specific name. I forget what it is.
Verti,
That's it's, what's that? It doesn't matter.
Verti,
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Um, uh, but that engine, the tabular engine, is built and designed for a star schema, which is, if you're familiar with Kimball, and let's say you're not, but it's a fact table, and this is where all of your measures or amounts are, surrounded by dimensional tables, which include like all the details, right? Like the names or anything text basically is going to be in the surrounding dimensions, and anything number is going to be inside the fact table, generally speaking, right? But this can be a lot for people, especially when they're accustomed to working with like this huge like CSV file, right? Or they get this one big table and that's what they work with. And um, in many cases, if you have a few, like 50, 60 columns, a few hundred columns, whatever it is, right? And maybe you got a million or two rows, all depending upon this, the actual like size. And when I say size, I'm talking about megabytes of data. But in most cases, you can import them kind of as is inside of your Power BI workspace. So you can start to build and operate there. And you can do the same thing in Excel to kind of get up and running and get going. But at a certain point in time, as you start to expand, as you start to grow, you're going to notice that there's some performance issues and some things are, it's not going to be running as fast or as snappy as you'd like. And it's at that point in time where starting to add in some dimensionality, where you start to move away from having everything inside of one table into having different dimensions, will start to add in some benefits. And um, I've liked to, do that with like low cardinality tables that you can kind of identify and put some logic around. Like a region dimension is a good example, right? So a lot of companies have north, south, east, and west regions, right? It's very easy. To like identify how many there are, and what you do is you just basically create a region dimension that has, one for north, or a number for each of the regions. And inside of your fact table, replace that region column with a logical operator that replaces those characters for the integers. Then you join over on that integer. Um, what you're going to notice is that, having, north, south, east, and west in a dimensional table just a singular time versus having it inside your fact table where you may have those characters in a few million times is really going to significantly save on the size of your model. Then you're going to slowly, as you go from there, start to iterate out and creating those distinctions between that centralized fact table, slimming this down to the point where, the ultimate goal of having no text fields whatsoever inside your fact table,
Fact table.
you'll start to make steps towards that. Okay. Um, but if you're in a world where you just have the one big tables, start with the one big table. It's understandable. But just know that at a certain point in time, you're going to run into some capacity issues where that amount of data, the tabular engine is, you're going to have problems with the tabular engine, and you need to start working your way towards that star schema.
Wow. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Chris. I mean, the next question would be, what design and build strategies can you give us? Some few tips. Now I've been able to bring my BI, my Excel sheet into my BI. I have my star schema. What are some of the design and build strategies you can show us?
I do recommend, starting in Excel and moving it into Power BI. But the same can be true. You can go back from Power BI into Excel. You can publish a Power BI data set. You can then do analyze in Excel. Um, but as you do your work and as you continue to build out, one of the big things that I push everyone on is make sure that at every step of your development, you're including some time and energy into your data validation. The number one thing that can sink any analytical platform is if the data that users are seeing isn't right and doesn't jive with what they know reality to be.
Yes.
Right? If they know that you have 100 customers and you say you have 10,000 customers, they don't trust you, right?
Nobody wants. Yeah.
Right. So as you go, do that development, do that validation inside of Excel. I even this report here was built off of one of the KratosBi seeds that I have out there. Um, uh, where did it go? Did I not include it? Oh, balancing. I highly recommend you include you do your balancing on a tab like this. So inside of your report, you connect to your pivot table, and then you build out your pivot table, and then get your validation data set, either by connecting to the source system and running a query and dropping it in, but another, even if it's copy and paste, so that you can clearly see that all of these values tie out, and that the data that you're showing in your report aligns with what you're expecting it to be. This this can be a lifesaver when it comes to knowing that, the information that you've been loading, you're managing, you're curating is correct. And actually having lots of these tests can also help you when it comes to troubleshooting down the line. Right? So you can know I've tested this data out across these different dimensions against these different queries, and it's all balancing. If you're seeing a data issue at some point in time, all you do is run back and do a regression test what's inside your balancing space, either by refreshing these validation data sets or pasting them back in, and then finding where you do and don't have any issues, right? You may easily find that some upstream logic changed in a business practice, and now what's flowing into your environment is no longer true to the source and needs to be adjusted. This can really help you with that development process and identifying and resolving that issue.
Wow, that's a great strategy. Is this Excel sheet available?
Yep. So this is out on KratosBi.com,
All right.
out on Getting Started with Power BI. I've got my seed files available. So I've got my Excel seed and my Power BI seed. I'd recommend checking out either one of those. Those are excellent to get started with. Uh, they were featured on Guy in the Cube, so we pretty proud of that one. So,
Right.
but yeah, go ahead and get started there.
Okay, so that's one design and build strategies. I'm This is the first time seeing something like this validation because it's one of the key things in reality most businesses face. In that once you build a report and the end users begin to question the integrity, like he was talking about, they already know the number of customers on the ground, but your report is telling them otherwise, especially when the error margin is so huge, people begin to wonder if they can actually trust this report. And trust is very key in data analysis. You don't want people questioning every time whether it's the right data that you have. So validation is really a big deal. And what Chris has done is pretty much amazing. I'll probably have another session with Chris where we'll talk about how to validate data using these two sets. Maybe my next interview with Chris. I think I'm pretty much going to dwell much on this because it's something that I have been facing in my organization as well. So this is pretty brilliant stuff.
Well,
And
and honestly, on some larger projects, I've built out a suite, or I've had my engineers or team members build out a suite of these things where they're like a validation workbook has like 80 tabs on it with 80 different validations in it, and that it has like a summary page that just shows the net results of all of these value tests, and then you can easily tell what and where you have issues in any loads that you have going on. Because if you look at a lot of analytical models, it's easy to have billions upon billions, if not trillions of data points that exist across your model. Validating and tying those out and making sure that they align not just to what technically something should be, but to what the business expects it to be can be exceedingly difficult, but having a series of workbooks like this can be very helpful in getting that testing up in place to ensure confidence and to ensure that you don't have any breakdowns in your system. When I've had that, I've built that out. We had people that ran those workbooks every single day before people got in looking for issues, and wherever there was a problem, that created a ticket that went into engineering, and engineering went out and resolved that, all before people showed up for work at 8 a.m. the next day. So,
wow,
yeah.
that's pretty huge on validation. Wow. And any other design and build strategies that you want to show us?
I think we've hit on enough of these items for today.
All right. Um, One last question on, for instance, a lot of questions that I get from people is that I'm working on Excel sheets. How do I put that Excel sheet online so that it can probably do an automatic refresh? And so as the source file can be accessed by a number of people to do entries.
Sure. So the big thing there is SharePoint and
Yeah.
OneDrive. And if you're using Power BI and you're connecting to the data source, make sure that you're using the web connector and going to the web path that the file is located at. Don't use the like folder or file directory connector. Okay. If you go in and just like get data, go to a file, and pull it out, you can 100% go down this route. But this path means every day you have to, every time you want to do an update, you have to manually do it. You go the web route and you can get it to automatically refresh.
Wow. So that means the same Excel sheets should be published on SharePoint
hmm Just
or
store them on SharePoint, use the Excel
OneDrive.
workbook, or use the web link in order to do that, and you're good to go.
Okay. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Yep.
It's 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 been an amazing chat with Chris. We started on from why we should get Power BI from his background to why we needed Power BI in our companies, the capabilities Power BI brings. He gave us use cases, taught us on how to move from Excel, what we know, into Power BI, into an enterprise solution. He taught us something on star schema, the dimensions and the fact table, by telling us that it could just mean your numbers and your test files being separated in the nutshell, and then move into some design and build strategies in how you can validate your data with even Excel, and then went on to answer the question on how to connect best with your Excel sheets via web instead of your worksheet and a workbook by saving it in OneDrive or SharePoint, and this becomes easy. I think with this interview with the chief data god, anybody that is an unbeliever with not knowing what to do with Power BI is now convinced that this is the way to go. It has enormous capabilities that it can give an organization. From the use cases Chris has given us, it helps the front end user, right from the front end person, the person interfacing with your customers, to the C-suite who makes decisions to affect everyone, to the individual customers that you actually reach out to. And it's pretty much an amazing tool that anybody that wants to actually improve in his or her business can actually take advantage of. And as he said, normally such solutions would have cost in millions of dollars, but Power BI could cost a few thousands of dollars and you could get the same capability running in your organization. I think if you are having issues with your IT and your business teams, Power BI is a very good bridge between that because it gives individuals capabilities. Like Chris said, he just found it and learned pretty much on his own. And today he's the data god. I mean, he started being a data god a long while ago, but I mean, he's the chief data god. Chris, has been wonderful having you on my channel. And those who missed probably the introduction, Chris is a architect, data architect engineer at Rockwell Automation, supervises over 30,000 content builders. You can imagine his schedule. And we pretty much happy to have him here. Chris,
Well,
thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Head over to KratosBi.com. Check out the other data guides out there. That's really where I learned everything. That's why I created KratosBi was to really highlight the incredible work that's done in the community. Because without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I'm just grateful for everybody that's out on that site. Hit up my YouTube channel, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you on hopefully LinkedIn and or Twitter. So have a great day now. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. So follow and subscribe Chris channel. KratosBi is amazing. I've learned so much from him. He started with recently was doing this data visualization guide. Pretty much amazing stuff. Go check it out and see you next time. Chris, I have a data validation to catch you on the next interview.
Sounds good,
So,
man. All right.
all right.
Well,
Thank
take
you,
care, buddy.
viewers. And we've come to the end of today's show. Subscribe to my channel. It's Ebenezer Safwadu. And see ya later.